How's everybody today? Pete here at Spawn Fly Fish. It is time to tie some hoppers. So grab your vise, grab yourself a cup of coffee. Let's get ready to have some fun. In the vise today to get this hopper going, we do have the Ahrex FW531, and this is a size 8 big hopper we're going to tie today. And if you watched the last video, I did a Mick-Twist caddis, and today we're going to keep that mentality, but now we're going to switch that over to a grasshopper. So this will be the Mick-Twist Hopper. And this one's a little bit more challenging in my opinion than tying the caddis. A lot going on, a lot more to pay attention to as far as your proportions here, but nothing you can't handle. All right, to get things started, I do have 2 strips of foam. Again, we're going to tie these in and twist them up for the body. So I've got olive and yellow, one of my favorite hopper colorations, and I'm going to kind of give myself a pre-start here of where I want this body to end, the thorax to start and all that. So instead of 2/3, 1/3, I'm going to make this into fifths, not to be difficult, but because it just works out. So I'm going to look at 3/5 for the abdomen, 2/5 for that thorax, because I do want it slightly bigger than just 1/3. So keep that in mind. And this, where I tie these foam strips in, is just going to give my brain a little cue of, hey, make sure you don't go past that point or you're going to run out of room for your thorax. And so that's all. Just get a little cheat spots there, and take your time tying in this foam. You do want this to be even underneath, and if you want this beefier, by all means, don't increase the size of the strips here that you're going to twist together. Instead, come in with a little bit of foam underneath, get that all tied down, and then wrap over that. And that would give you a slightly beefier base to start with, and that's how you want to make a bigger body, not necessarily bigger strips. All right, so this is the foam part, right? We're going to twist these 2 pieces of foam together, and based off of tension and where I'm placing my fingers here, it will change how this twists. So just be mindful as you go. We want to use fairly steady pressure here and maintain that twist with each rep. If we do this, it'll just give us this amazingly segmented body that looks very natural, very buggy, and floats all day, right? I'm such a fan of low maintenance flies, meaning I'd rather spend my time on the vise with an extra step or 2 than have to adjust what I'm doing on the river or on the lake. That's not nearly as much fun to me. I'd rather spend that time focused on fishing. So everybody's got their own flavor, their own little thing about what makes it special for them. Great. I'm just letting you in on what makes it special for me. So I'd rather tie a slightly more involved fly and not have to think about it once I'm out there on the water. All right. So at this point, I'm going to mash down these last little bits here of foam. And now I feel as though I'm onto something. All right. We do want to give the effect here. I'm going to spin this around so you get a look at this body. And you can see it's substantial, very rigid, right? What more could you ask for? I know. Something that looks like this top piece to give the effect of that little wing coming out over the butt. And yet I still want it to provide a purpose outside of aesthetics. And so more foam, more flotation. Again, that's kind of what we're going for here. So I just want to lay this so that it's going to stick out just a little bit past the butt, and at that point just past the butt, or hook point as well, or where it's curved there. And now I can get this tied in. So I want to make sure a couple things here. Staying directly on top of that hook shank. And why? A couple reasons. We're not cutting this piece of foam. We're going to use this. We're going to make this again a little bit tricky. but I also want to be able to lift this foam wing just for a second and place a small amount of super glue gel right on top of our body. And now position that foam wing on top and just hold it there. And now as I come through, get a couple more wraps on my little foam wing here all the way back. And by this time, I should be able to sort of let that wing go. Super glue is going to do what super glue does, hold that in position for us. And we don't have to worry about it anymore. Pretty cool. At this point, I do want to give myself a little work-in room. So I'm going to mash this foam down, a couple X wraps, and then come through and continue mashing that down all the way. And yes, the difficulty factor here, one is to not forget any of the steps. So let's hope we do that. But then the next step is to be mindful of how much space this foam is consuming. It's a lot. So if you keep that in mind, don't rush, you're going to be okay. Time for another wing, so to speak. We've got some bleached elk hair here. I've got it in the stacker already stacked. Just going to look to get that to extend just to barely past that foam wing. And now we get this tied in. One good pull, and then I can add pressure with each wrap as I walk this thread back. I don't want to skip too much there. I'll make sure everything is in proper position, giving firm pull down with each wrap here. And let's see how we do. And now we'll let go of that hair wing, and it's directly on top, just like we want it. So now what do we do with this mess here in the front? Nothing to it. We just trim out all those butts like so. One hair is trying to be funny. That's all right. So pretty clean trim off here. And again, being mindful of how much space are we eating up. And it becomes more important here in 2 seconds. So now what I want to do is bring the foam back. And I warned you ahead of time, there's a lot going on with this fly. So just bear with me here for a second, and then it will, of course, make more sense as we get more tied in. Pretty substantial thoracic section here already. And while it's daunting to look at and you go, oh my goodness, how am I going to finish this fly? Don't get too overwhelmed here. All right, beauty. I do want 2 colors involved here for this front section. So I'm switching over, and this is kind of going old school here with some Superfine dub from Hareline. I've just got a bit of Chartreuse here, and I'm going to dub a very thin noodle. It's one of those you just kind of want the dubbing to become one with the thread. One of those deals. And as far as the direction I'm going to go here, I'm going to go front to back and then a second pass back to front. And I want to eat up very close to half of this space that we've left here in this thoracic region. Still got that dubbing. And again, just a little fluorescent Chartreuse, super fine. A little cream would work. And the big thing here is that I'm going to have a darker tone in front of this one. A little contrast spot, never hurt. This is where you want to check your work and make sure that your dubbing has gone all the way back, right, to where that foam is tied in. And that's what's going to allow this little hump effect that we're going to get for this first thoracic section. Not the head. The head is different. And so there is how you create that little segment in front of the wing. a few securing wraps, and at this point you see I've still got space here for one more section. Haha. And so let's use an X wrap to start. Really want to compress that foam here in that front section. Make sure you don't clog your eye of that hook, otherwise this is all pointless. We're really going to mash this down, and now this time instead of going front to back and back to front, I'm going to go back to front, front to back. But I told you I'd go darker, and so this is still some Superfine dub, but now I've got olive. And depending on what your favorite color scheme is for grasshoppers, I can tell you this thing tied in tans and browns, deadly. I've got some sneaky color schemes that I do use. Some of you might already know, but don't sleep on a purple foam big terrestrial dry fly. All right, so now same thing. We don't want any exposed thread or areas that we've been in, so we're going to sort of just be diligent here and watching our thread. Now this will have, I could get a little bit more in right there where those two sections meet. No worries, I'll just come in, add a little bit extra pinch there. Nothing big, just a little bit at a time. Much easier to control that way. And back to it, and you can see this is the one I was talking about right there. There we go. So bring that thread right in between, and now when I pull this guy back, I'm going to do that thread wrap right in between. In theory, there we go. I like that one better. Check. Make sure it's even on both sides of that fly. And this wing back here, it's getting a little beat up, a little tortured. No worries. Get your bodkin in there, prop that wing up, and it will stay where it's meant to be. And now we can finish this fly. Make sure everything is not tilting one direction or the other, straight on top. It's the only way to go. Time for some legs before we cut anything. So I'm not sure how long I've had these poor guys. It's been a hot minute. Just got some olive barred with gold. Anything that's green or yellowish would be great. Just want to get one thread wrap here, maybe two. I'm going to slide these back just slightly so that the rear legs are a little bit longer than the front legs. And then I would do the same on your side. I can grab these little legs here. So many good legs out there anymore. The options are just innumerable. There's so many options for legs. So whichever ones you think work the best, or you happen to like that coloration, whatever it might be, just do you. I like these, and so putting them on here. Again, sliding them back just a touch, so that those rear legs do have the ability to reach past the body. And at that point, I can go ahead and solidify, making sure these guys don't slip down, stay up here where they're supposed to be. Whip finish time. So there's a lot going on, but it's still pretty quick for a big old hopper. And you know, size 8, it's very big, I understand. But we're not throwing these to catch the little guys. We're out there during an epic hatch, and although we don't necessarily have big hopper hatches here where we live, you know, it doesn't take but a couple hours to get into it, pretty much from wherever you're at. So always important to have some monster sized grasshoppers or terrestrials in your fly box. At least I've found it pretty handy. All right, we are going to get some cement going here. A very patient and thorough job we need to do is to cover all those thread wraps. This fly gets smashed, and so as long as you've got some floating, a little shaky, right, that's all you should need for these big foam dries. But if you tie it in properly and it's falling apart every other fish, well, that's no good. All right, we're going to make an angled cut here for this wing or, head extension, whatever you want to call it, like so. Nothing to it. And again, I can come in, get these individual hairs, just prop them up ever so slightly all together. One time lift, and then that's how it's going to position. If need be, I bring all these forward legs, give them one cut, and now everybody's the same length. And if I needed to in the back, I could as well. But I'm kind of digging how they just hang there. Very buggy and very attracting. So there you have it, the Mick-Twist Hopper in yellow and olive. Hope you guys enjoyed. I sure did. I always have fun chatting with you guys here on this amazing platform. So if you could do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will see you all on the water.